Thank you so much for coming. Thank you everyone for coming. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about a substance. A substance most of us never think about. And that's the gasoline that fuels our cars. I'd like us to consider, is gasoline an immoral substance? Thousands of soldiers died in the Iraq War. First they told us that the soldiers died because of weapons of mass destruction. But we never ever found those weapons. Then they told us that the soldiers died because Saddam Hussein was a vicious tyrant who wanted to destroy our way of life in the West. And there's no evidence of that. So ladies and gentlemen, why did they have to die? It is my contention, ladies and gentlemen, that gasoline is an immoral substance. In order for us to discuss gasoline, we have to first define a few terms. First of all, let's define morality. I found a great definition in a textbook entitled Business Ethics, Concepts and Cases, 7th edition, by Professor Manuel Velasquez. His definition is that morality is the standard that an individual or group has about what is right or wrong, good and evil. Now let's define gasoline. According to the U.S. Administration of Energy, KIDS website, gasoline is a non-renewable fuel made from petroleum. Non-renewable means that once it is used, it is gone forever. Now that we have determined and discussed what gasoline is and what morality is, let us now discuss the standard for what would make gasoline an immoral substance. Now I'm going to lay out the standard for you, and you're going to make your own decision as to whether or not you agree that gasoline is an immoral substance. In defining what is or isn't an immoral substance, we have to ask ourselves the question, does it require deception for this substance to be isolated? Does it require the loss of human life for this substance to be isolated? Does it cause the destruction of natural resources? And does it promote a culture of violence? Those are the four questions, the four main points that must be addressed in order for us to determine if gasoline is or isn't an immoral substance. Now, taking into consideration the Iraq War, we know there was deception used. In fact, it is my contention that the war in Iraq was fought primarily because of gasoline. And I'm not the only one saying this. In fact, in an interview on CNBC, which aired September 17th, 2007, Alan Greenspan, former chairman of the Federal Reserve, said the war in Iraq was largely about oil. So we know that the war was about oil. And we know that we were deceived about the true purposes of the war. So in that regard, we can say that gasoline was an immoral substance. Second, we have to ask ourselves, does this substance require the loss of human life? Well, war by its very nature facilitates the loss of human life. And in fact, according to the Christian Science Monitor in an article by Dan Murphy, written January 2nd, 2012, the Iraq War death toll was at least 162,000 people. Most of those were civilians. So we know, based on this fact, that human life was lost, a significant amount of human life, just to protect our access to gasoline. That makes it an immoral substance. Also, when we discover or determine if something is immoral, if a substance is immoral, we have to ask ourselves, does it require the destruction of natural resources? The answer to that, with regards to gasoline, is yes. Millions of gallons of gasoline are pumped daily. We don't even know the true purpose of the gasoline being in the earth, but we're moving millions and millions of gallons of it daily. At some point, that may very well catch up with us. We may one day wish we had kept the gasoline in the earth. One more thing we must ask ourselves is, does the substance promote a culture of violence? Now, looking at the Iraq War as an example, the United States decided that it was okay to go to a foreign country and invade just for the purpose of protecting the oil. There was no negotiation. They went, they took what they wanted, they overthrew the government. That says to other countries of the world, whatever you want, just go and take. That's a culture of violence. And that makes gasoline an immoral substance. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the decision is yours. I have laid out the facts. And just in summary, we have discussed why gasoline is an immoral substance. We have said that deception is required to isolate it, that loss of human life is required to facilitate the production of it. We have also discovered and discussed that gasoline requires the destruction of natural resources. And most importantly, gasoline facilitates a culture of violence. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is my contention. That is, in fact, an immoral substance. The choice is yours, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for coming. You have a safe trip home.